You and I can tell that this is an avocado and one can only apply so much force while handling these delicious fruits. Unfortunately, you can't expect robots to figure all these things out. Wootzano is a startup that has found a solution.
I'm Atif, I'm the chief exec of Wootzano. Wootzano is a robotics business based in the northeast of England, in Newcastle, and we are globally in about 8 countries in the world. What Wootzano does is we make one of the most highly dexterous robots designed for the post-harvest industry. Post-harvest is when a fruit or vegetable is harvested. From that point up until it goes to retail shelf, all of that is post-harvest. And essentially you and I, when we go and pick up fruits from a retail store, we essentially are provided fruit from this post-harvest world. And every fruit and veg across the world goes through this processing, which is very laborious, very mundane, very repetitive. Which is where these robots come in. These robots are designed to do the job of a human being on a production line. So I'll show you a little bit of what the robots do. So the robot it's a 6-axis manipulator integrated with computer vision, machine learning, deep learning methods in the background, which enables the robot to understand the fruit itself. It's able to know what the fruit is, the type of fruit, the variety of fruit, but also know the quality of the fruit. So, for example, it may have, for avocados, it may be ripeness, for example, it may be the color variation, color hues. And then, by using all that data, what it does is it uses something called an electronic skin. The e-skin enables the robot to really feel like a human being. What you and I do with our skin, we are able to know force, pressure, we are able to know temperature, which is what the robot does. So by using those feedback, it's able to say, for example, an avocado, if the avocado is ripe or not ripe. But more importantly, it's able to apply just right force to hold the fruit without damaging or bruising it. And also making sure that it doesn't slip out of his hand. It's called piezo-resistive sensing as well, which enables the robot to know the direction of force. And by using this data and sensing modalities, the robot is able to manipulate the fruit. It's not just about picking, but it's about doing all the other processing. And then finally, depending on retailers, they've got different specifications. So if you go to one retailer to another retailer, they may have different type of fruits they would want, even the same variety. They would like the fruit to look a specific color. They like the fruit to have, they may be okay to get some defects and charge less. So the variety of specifications the robot then looks into before it decides that is that the right fruit and packs it for the end customer. So this is done in Australia. We've got the thing in Brisbane. We do avocados, kiwis, mangoes, table grapes, wine tomatoes, lots of herbs and spices from US all the way to Japan and Australia. So we'll show you a little bit of a demonstration of what these robots do. So essentially what the robot does in this particular case is it determines that is it the right avocado. I mean, it's right. It does that in 300 milliseconds. And then what's happening here is the robot is, regardless of the orientation of the fruit, it will know which orientation the fruit was, and it tries to place it inside the individual locations for the end customer and places it in exactly one direction. So you see this particular thing is facing upwards. That's what the customer wants, and that's what the robot does. If the customer wants to do it something else, the customer does it, something differently. So that's what it is. If you see there, my colleague is showing table grapes, for example. It's what it's again doing is understanding what the fruit is, picking very dexterously without bruising and damaging. Grapes have got something called shatter. So essentially, even as human beings, when we pick up, there is a chance of the berry falling off, especially for something like this. As you can see, this is very old and very dried stem. And when that happens, the calyx of the fruit starts getting quite weak and loses integrity. So a lot of times when you pick up grapes, you may find individual of this falling in the packet. But that's pretty normal. But the robot reduces that substantially. In many cases, up to 50% less shatter than a human being picking up and placing it. So if you look at what it's doing now, it's trying to get the fruit if it's the right weight, right quality, and then making sure that it's not bruising or damaging it in its process. So as when you look at the thing, there's no actual damage by the robot, and it's able to do that autonomously. We're not really controlling anything. It makes the decision by itself. It decides what needs to be done dynamically and fully autonomously, and that's what's needed on a production line. So yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the videos we've got in the background, I mean, that's herbs, what the robot's doing in the back on one of the facilities in the UK. I think that's rosemary or thyme, and the robot is able to know the weight, determine, pick it from the box, put it on the production line if it's the right variety of vegetable, and then that goes forward, and then there's a flow wrapper which wraps and goes directly to retail shelf or open market as well. I mean, a lot of people who sell this not just in a retail shelf in a pack, but also people get these robots just to select the right quality to then be sold openly, where people can, you buy it in a box and then you take it and weigh yourself and look at the quality yourself, but then it still needs to be processed. So yeah, we do a variety of these fruits and vegetables. In Malaysia, for example, we do bird's eye chilies, which is interesting because what we do there is we remove the bad chilies and get the right chilies in a production line, which then gets flow wrapped, and the ones which are grade or class 2 goes to make chili pastes. So that's also something quite interesting. We these robots involved. But again, this is a fresh produce processing robotic system. To our knowledge, actually not our knowledge, this is the only one in the world commercially available. It costs exactly the same price as a human being in the country we're installing it. So if you got money to pay people every day, every month, you got money to get robots online.